All right, today what we're going to start with talking about is Pro Tools templates, and we've kind of touched on this a little bit, just mentioned it in the very beginning. If you go back to Pro Tools 1, we did talk a little bit about templates and what they are. But basically, some of the ideas behind templates, essentially what a template is, it's like a preset for Pro Tools. It's like a giant preset that encompasses a whole bunch of stuff from all different parts of the program so you can get up and running faster. It's literally just to make your setup time quicker. It's a pre-made session for Pro Tools, and it includes things like audio, it can include plugins, it can include aux tracks, MIDI tracks, instruments, I/O settings, your effects, send effects, insert effects, all that stuff. So if I go over here and let's see here. Let's say that I've got this here. This is like a drum kit setup, and right now it has all this audio data in it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take out all this audio data. I'm just going to take out all this stuff here. And let's do this. Let's turn this back on. Let's put it back into here, and boom. Okay, so I just removed all this data here. I'm going to get rid of all of these markers across the top. A couple ways that you can get rid of markers is you can hold down Option and click on it. And you may have noticed that actually holding down Option and clicking does quite a lot in the program. Basically, anytime you have like a data point to get rid of, if you hold down Option and click, it's going to get rid of that data point. So I'm just going to go ahead and set this up. And I'm going to set this up in such a way that it will make sense for future recordings. So I've got these kicks here, and let's imagine I have a studio where I'm always recording the same drums all the time, and it's basically I've got like a let's say I've got a studio kit, and that studio kit has, you know, it's something that I can use for drummers to come in and use whenever they want to come in. They don't want to use their own drum kit, or they don't have their own drum kit, or the drum kit's not very good. They want to use my drum kit in my studio. And so I might have a certain sound that drum kit has, and I've recorded it a bunch of times. I know it sounds good with these certain plugins on it, and going into these effects and this subgroup over here. So what I can do is I can just have all that stuff set up here. Let me get rid of the audio that's in here. I'm going to select all this stuff here, and I'm just going to remove these from the session. All right, so now I don't have any clips in here. Got my drums set up. I got everything set up over here. It looks pretty good. Let me also, let's see, this doesn't have, okay. These ones here, I'm gonna go ahead and just delete these. I don't need these at all. Actually, you know what, let me keep them. Oh, no, I just deleted them. Never mind, ha ha ha. So, all right, so we got this here. I hit the wrong button there, that's okay. So I've got this here, I've got a click track in here. Default tempo, the tempo doesn't really matter so much. And now what I want to do is I want to say this is going to be something that I want to have it, so whenever I have a drummer come in and record, it's always going to have this set up to start with. So I don't have to keep doing this every single time. So it's so easy. The hardest part really is just figuring out what do you want to have in your template. So in this case, I just have a track for my kick drum, a track for my snare drum, a track for my hi-hat, my 3 tom drums, and then an overhead as well. I've got these running into a reverb and a little bit of a delay, and I've got everything subgrouped together here on this one here. So it's a pretty good setup. I've got a click track here for my drummer. So all I do is I go File. Wait, let me turn on so you can see this. There we go. I go over here and I turn on File here, and I go down to Save as Template. Right there, Save as Template. And I click on that, and now it comes over here and it says, all right, install the template in the system. That's fine. I can make a new category here. I've got all these different ones: guitar, miscellaneous, music, post-production, record and mix, songwriter. These are ones that all come with Pro Tools out of the box. I made a new one here called Tony Templates. I just clicked Add Category, and I can add Tony Templates to whatever. I'm going to hit Cancel on that. So Tony Templates, if you want to see where your templates folder is in your computer, you can do that, and it will show you where the templates folder is. So there's my templates folder in my computer. And a couple buttons here. You can put it in a different location if you want. I'm just going to keep it in the system install. This is for if you want to put it in your own separate folder somewhere. But you can make your own folder in the system as well, so you don't have to do that. Include media. What this means is that if I have any audio files that I want to include with the session, this would be really useful. For example, if you're doing like house music or techno or something like that, hip hop or something where you want to record, like maybe you want to have like some shaker sounds in your clips list, or you have a track that has a shaker on it, or hi-hats, or something that's just like a super basic to get going type of track, or you always like to use a certain kick drum loop. You can include that media with your session. You could have it be in the clips list over on the right hand side, and that would work out for you there. But I'm not going to include any media in this because I deleted all my media, and I'm going to give it a name. Let's call this one TG Studio Drums Setup. So I hit OK, and now what it does is it just saved it as a template. It doesn't look like it changed anything on here because it didn't change anything in my session that's here right in front of me. But if I close this session, I'm not going to save it. I don't want to save any of that stuff I just did. If I close my session and I go back over here to Create New, over in the upper left-hand corner here, Create New. Now what I can do is I can go in here and I can say Create from Template right here. I click on this. Boom, it's selected. And in here I have all those folders that we were just looking at there. And these all have templates in them. All have different templates. And you can see here's my Tony templates right here. And I have my TG Studio Drums set up. And I can tell it what kind of session I want it to be. All this stuff hasn't changed. It's going to be stereo mix, interleaved, wave, 24-bit, 44.1. It looks pretty good. I can give it a name. It's going to name it after my template here, but once I click on the template, I can change the name to, I don't know, Day 1 Drum Recording. Hit Create, and it's going to look exactly like that session we were just looking at right there. So you can see if I flip back and forth between my two windows, it looks exactly like that session. Now what I would recommend doing is when you are recording stuff, you don't necessarily want to monitor through these plugins, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn all these plugins off for now. I'm going to mute my reverb and my delay, turn off my maximum, turn off this one here, so that we're not monitoring through these plugins here, which is a really good idea that you don't monitor through your plugins. Not that it's the end of the world if you do monitor through your plugins, but really you probably want to get a natural sound in your drummer's headphones. And that's how you can set up and recall a template. Here, let me just show you a couple of the other templates. I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to save any of this stuff. Command N is the shortcut for this. And in here, let's go to songwriter and see what's in here. Songwriter, guitar, pianist. Here, let's try this pianist in here. I'm not sure if it'll let me load this up because I don't have all the Pro Tools plugins installed in here. Let's just see what's in here. So this is saying some bus paths could not be mapped, whatever they used before. It's going to try to pull up those inputs. Yeah, and it says, okay, it can't, it doesn't have these plugins in here. So it's okay. I'm just going to hit no on these. It's asking me basically, would you like to visit the Avid Marketplace to acquire the missing plugins for your activation? And I'm just going to say no. I don't want to go to the Marketplace and get these plugins. I'm not sure why. Oh, click one. That's an interesting one. It doesn't have. So in here, here's all these, and it has comments on them and says what they are, what they're for. And it's got all these setups. And you can see how these things are set up here. First, the first send A is a headphone mix. Then you have reverb, delay, chorus on here. And so you've got over here, you've got reverb return, delay return, chorus return. You got your headphone mix here. And it kind of gives you a little explanation of each thing in here. So if you wanted to go through and look at this, and this, you know, these templates are actually pretty cool to go look at because it shows you just some examples of how you could run your sessions. I remember when I first got Pro Tools, well, not when I first got it, but when they first started adding templates in, because they didn't have templates when I first started using Pro Tools. But when I first started noticing they had templates in there, I went through and I checked it out just to see what all they included in here. And it was kind of interesting to see how they had stuff set up in Pro Tools. And you can see here these reverb settings. They go to the reverb, delay, chorus over here, reverb, delay, and chorus there on our inputs of our buses. So this is one example of a session. Let's go ahead and try a different session. Let's see what the music is. In their music, they've got blues, drum and bass, dubstep, electronica, hip hop, house, all that stuff. Let's try house. Now, once again, because I don't have the instruments loaded on my machine here, it's not going to load everything up correctly. But let's just try this house. Let's see what it does. It's going to have the same output problem that we had before. And this one here, this readout here, it basically is just telling me some bus paths could not be mapped to their previous output paths. And that's because whatever hardware they were using before, it's not the hardware that I have now. And basically you can just kind of ignore this. It's not really something that you need to study. You don't need to save it really. Some inputs are missing. The session comes from an earlier version of Pro Tools. The following bus has been remapped to your monitor path to ensure audio output. Output 1 and 2 has been remapped to output 1 and 2. Would you like to save a detailed report? If you hit yes, it's going to save a text file on your computer that shows you what all has been changed. I always hit no. I don't really need a detailed report about this, but if you're confused and you want to go through and check it out and just see what's going on, you can hit yes here to save a detailed report. The other thing you can do is you can go to I/O setup and click on that, and it's going to open up your I/O setup. And in here, you should, let's see, be able to hit the default button and it'll remap certain things. And now it'll take you through, if you just hit that default there in the lower left-hand corner, and I'll do that again in just a second. And now it's telling me again that I don't have all the plugins. I'm just going to hit no. It's not a big deal. Well, it's not a big deal because I don't really care that much. And in here, it's got like a house loop. That would have my boom drum kit. And it's got vacuum, expand 1 and 2 in here. Vacuum is just a like a analog modeling soft synth, and expand is like a sample player type of thing. It's got a bunch of different sounds in it. It's got some audio tracks down here. If we look at what's going on, we got drums, we got bass, we got piano, we got synth pad. These are all instruments, so I can record MIDI on them. Then I've got audio 1, 2, 3, and 4. Record a mono audio track, record a mono audio track, record a stereo audio track. Then I've got click. I've got a headphone output, master, and then my returns. These are basically the same returns as we had before, and it's got a headphone mix here as well, which I kind of find interesting that they would even care about putting a headphone mix into a house music track, because most people, headphone mixes are really for bands, and we're going to talk about headphone mixes at a later date, but really it's not something that you need to worry about for a techno or house production. Just because when you're working on house music and techno, if you're working with somebody in the room with you, they probably do not need a different mix than what you're listening to. They're probably just going to listen to the same mix that you're listening to. So I'm going to go ahead and don't save that. And let's just listen. Let's just do one more here. create new, and let's go to record and mix. And let's do 24 channels, dynamic effects, EQ effects, and effects returns. Right here, we'll just use that one. Click on interleaved here, make sure it's interleaved. I/O settings will be stereo mix. I'll just leave the name like that so I know that it's coming from a template, and I'm gonna hit create. It's gonna give me the same warning, and I can just hit no here. And then it's saying one or more plugin. This time it's only that click plugin, so I'm gonna hit no. I do not need to visit the shop for that to turn that on. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna go over here to where the click track is, and I'm gonna change this to my click 2 plugin. So here's my click 2 plugin, and I'm gonna make sure that it's using the Tony click. There we go, boom. Nice. So now it should have a decent click for me. Where's my click? Why am I not hearing click? There we go. So there's my click. Yep. Cool. So there's my click. I got that. Now, all this other stuff, again, it's got 24 channels here. These are all going to be mono and stereo. You can see here's a divide right here, and it shows you down here in the bottom. In the comments, mono audio tracks are this way, and there's some stereo audio tracks this way, which I think is interesting that they have that divide there. And then up across the top, on every single channel, you can see there's a EQ and compressor. So there's an EQ here and a compressor on every track. So I could go in, I can click on each one of these to set my EQ, to set my compressor. And all the tracks have a headphone mix, a reverb, a delay, and a chorus. And these are all going over here. They've got them color-coded here. And here's my reverb, my delay, and my chorus. And you can see these are kind of going, it's all very well laid out, but it's not something that I would use. I don't use this stuff here. All right, but that's what your templates have. That's what your templates can do for you. And you can set your own templates up, which I think is the most useful. I don't think it's terribly useful to use the Pro Tools templates, especially if you're doing music production stuff. The Pro Tools plugins are okay. Vacuum's great. The effects are fine, but the other instruments are just so-so. All right. So let's just go back into our notes here. Pro Tools templates. Like I said, it makes your setup quicker. A pre-made session for your DAW. When to create templates. These are some ideas for when you should create a template. When you have multiple sessions with the same musician. Or same band or same musicians. If you're doing a recording session over a week or over 2 weeks with the same band, and maybe they're just even leaving their stuff set up in your studio, they've just booked out the whole studio for like 2 weeks or a month or something like that, and this does happen. So if that's kind of your situation, then you definitely want to create a template that's got all the microphones and everything for the band that you're recording. Maybe they're recording the same instruments every single day. Or maybe they're starting with the same instruments every day and then having extra stuff coming in. So at least you can get the bass instruments set up correctly. So your guitar, drums, bass, vocals. For drums, especially drums, this is a really big one here. Your track inputs, any kind of subgroup routing, plugins on the tracks. Deactivate these during the recording using Command, Control, and click it. Any kind of genre-specific productions. So like if you're doing a lot of house music or techno, hip-hop, trap especially, trap music basically almost always has the same drum sounds. So why not start off with a drum kit that has all your favorite drum sounds in it, your favorite bass sound, your favorite lead sounds, your favorite piano with a reverb on it, your favorite bell loop, something like that. Yeah, you'll create a few templates. Yeah, I think it's a really good idea to get these templates going, especially if you're doing the same things over and over again. It saves a lot of time. In my Ableton Live, I definitely have template for various things set up, and I'll show you that when we get to Ableton Live. Utility tasks, if you're creating samples, if you're doing DJ mixes and stuff like this, I don't really recommend doing DJ mixes into Pro Tools, although you can do it. It's a little bit easier to create a DJ mix in Ableton Live, but you can do it in Pro Tools. It would just be a little bit trickier than using Ableton Live. But utility tasks such as creating samples and stuff like that, definitely you want to have your template set up for that, because it's not something you want to redo it every single time. It would get to be kind of a waste if you're redoing it every single time over and over again. And this page here just goes through creating a template. Open a blank session, or open a session that you want to take the template from, like I did today. I used an older session that we had, and I made a template from that. Add the tracks you want to use, insert instruments, insert effects, plugins, stuff like that. Set up your routing, subgroup mixing, set up your Pro Tools groups, file, save as template. So let me just go through that one more time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new session here, and I'm going to create here, not from a template. Let's make one called Techno Template. And I/O settings, stereo mix, interleaved. So this stuff is good here, boom. And I'll use some of my third-party plugins and stuff to do this with, so you can just see how we might do this. So in here, let's do first of all, let me just go and make sure my I/O settings are correct. Seems like it should be, but maybe not, because it was just messing with a whole bunch of extra stuff there. All right, cool. So this looks okay. So I got that there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple tracks for some drums and stuff like that. So let's make some stereo audio tracks. And these are going to have some like loops on them. And set up my top part here. Bars and beats, tempo, meter. Yeah, it's pretty good. Let's have the key in there as well. And then down the side here, we're going to have our inserts and my sends, my I/O section here. I don't really want the comments, because I'm going to name the tracks in such a way that I know what they're doing here. All right, so we got this stuff here, and I'm going to go ahead and actually plug in my hard drives. I don't have my hard drives turned on right now, so let me go ahead and plug those in so we can get some samples on here. There we go. Boom. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and grab some stuff from my sample libraries, and we'll just use, here I'll use some stuff from Sample Magic, and we'll just grab some stuff from the same kit in here. We'll use House Nation, this one's fine. And in here, I've got some drum loops, and I can go through this. And I'm just going to use a couple of ideas for these. So we'll just use this, here we'll use these waves here. I'm just going to drag these files in here, and you can listen to them. Cool. So I'm just going to drag that drum loop over here like this right in the beginning, and you can see it says 125. That means the tempo is at 125. So I'm going to go ahead and change my overall tempo to 125 in here. I'm just going to double click this little red thing here, 125, boop. And now we should be good. Okay. Cool. Let's just make sure. Why are we? Oh, I see. Hold on one second. Let me turn this off right now. Now I'm going to change it to 125. The reason why I did that is because I had Elastic Audio turned on, and I had my Tix mode turned on, and it pulled it in it changed the tempo of my drum loop for me. It was being helpful. which I don't really want, but I'm going to turn this back on here, my elastic audio, turn this back on for these. Cool. So, all right, so that sounds pretty good, but what I'm going to do though is let's get a bass loop going here for this template that doesn't have that snare drum or that clap in it. Yep, cool. So I'm going to duplicate that. What I'm doing is I just cut out here. Let me just explain one more time what I just did. What I did was I want to cut out the second one. I'm just going to make a kick drum loop from this first one here. So I just click on this, hit Command E, hit delete, and it deletes it. And now I'm going to just highlight this and duplicate this over for 1 bar. I'm going to make a 1 bar loop. Option Shift 3. That's to consolidate stuff. Option Shift 3 is to consolidate. And let's change the name of this to kick loop. Boom. And same thing. I'm going to rename this one here kick loop as well. There we go. I just want that one in there. I don't know why it's, yeah, oh, okay, whatever. So I've got that there. And now let's listen to this one here. If I hold down Option, I can listen. Yep, cool. So I'm going to grab this one here. And this one here is my hi-hat loop. There's my kick loop and my hi-hat loop, like that. I'm going to rename this one as well. Well, here, I'm just going to grab this 1 bar. Cool, that sounds pretty good. I'm not going to rename this one because I didn't change anything about it. I'm just going to leave it in there. All right, cool. Maybe I have a track over here for my snare drum or whatever. I'm just going to leave those blank as they are right now, and let's put in some kind of a bass sound or something like that. So I'm just going to make a new instrument track here. And we're going to call this one bass. And in here for my bass sounds, let's go ahead and use what do I have in here? Let's use Diva. Where are you, Diva? There we go. Stereo Diva. Boom. And in here we'll go to our presets and we'll load up some bass sound. Cool. So we'll use that bass sound right there, and I'm just gonna leave it on there. I'm not gonna put any bass lines in there. It's just gonna be in there. So it's just there for me. And let's get a keyboard sound as well. And for keyboard, I'll use let's use Arturia. And for this one here, we'll use, I like the sounds, I like Pigments a lot. I've been using Pigments quite a bit recently. So in here, we'll grab Pigments, and I'll just grab a sound up. Click on my presets over here, and the Rusted Keys has some cool stuff in it. And let's see here. All right, let's say that I want to keep that sound in there. I'm just going to use that one there, and let's use one more here. here, lead, and we'll go over here and grab, let's use massive X. Where are you? Oh, interesting. My massive X is not in Pro Tools. Huh. And also, wait, hold on a second. For some reason this became mono instead of stereo. Always make your instruments, like, unless you have a really good reason not to, always make your instruments stereo. Here we go. Now let's try and see what happens. Native instruments. There we go. Massive X. All right, cool. So I got that. And let's go in here and grab a sound. Synth lead sounds. Yeah. I kind of like this one here. Yeah, whatever. So I've got these sounds in here now. And so this is a pretty decent starting point for my for a template here. So I'll just go over here and select my unused clips, remove these, which we're gonna talk about when we talk about clips a little bit more. So I've got these here. So this is a pretty good starting point for a techno or house or something like that. I'm gonna go over here and I'm going to go to Save as Template. Over here on the left, remember we talked about this earlier, Save as Template, boom. And this is not really techno, it's more of a house type of thing. So we'll call this one House Template. And I am going to include the media right there, include media. Make sure that you include media in this case because I want it to load up with these audio clips. And yeah, we should be good. Save that. And now if I load it back up, go to Create from Template, Tony Templates, House, make sure it's stereo mixed, interleaved, yep, good. Hit Create, and it pulls everything in for me right there. So now I can just go in here and start recording away. Oops, let's set a loop. There we go. Something like that. And drag that back over. Boom. There we go. Let's put that there, move that over, grab this one. Cool. So now I got that. Up. I'd have to hit record and stuff like that first, but you get the idea of what, you know, and this makes it really quick to just kind of start going with stuff. And I've always got this here. Now, what I would recommend doing, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, is that you're starting from this and you might be saying, Tony, I don't want to use the same kick and snare and all that stuff for every single track. And I totally agree. I don't want you to either. This is just a template to get you going because really, if you're making house music and techno music, you don't need to be recreating the wheel every single track that you make. You can start off from the same point and just start using different things and just to kind of get your ideas going really, really quickly. All the big producers, they have this like kind of bag of tricks that they turn to for their songs, especially once they start to get more famous and they start to get a reputation for like a certain sound. You'll notice that they use a lot of the same tricks and techniques for stuff. And it's just so they can make things really, really quick, especially in the beginning, just to get ideas out there. So that's where your templates can come in. So there we go. Any kind of questions we have about templates or whatever, definitely we can talk during Zoom. All right. So the next part here that I want to talk about is importing session data. And this is really cool. This is a really, really neat thing that that other DAWs do. They have it, but they do it in kind of different ways. And the way that Pro Tools does it is pretty neat, and it allows you to import any kind of stuff from other sessions. So let's say, for example, that I'm over here and I'm working in my Sharp Hand Joe track. I've got my Sharp Hand Joe mix set up. I've got this mix here, and I'm like wondering, what can I add to this, or what can I do with this? Well, oh, you know what? I have this cool lead sound. I want to make this kind of electro-y, so it's got like an electronic element to it. Maybe that lead sound I was using in my house music production would be really cool in here. So I can actually go over to my track that we were just working on, that I saved as a template, and let's go down here to import session data. So if I go over here on the left-hand side of my screen under File, Import Session Data here, it's Option-Shift-I. Click on that. And now it'll say, where do you want to pull that session data from? So what I can do is I can say, all right, well, we're going to go in here to our Pro Tools projects, and let's go to the one we just had here, which was the techno template. Where was it? I just did, yep, techno template. And I'm going to double click on the session here. And, oh, it doesn't actually have anything in. Hold on a second, let's see. That was house. So Option-Shift-I, not techno, but house. There you are. Boom, here we go. House template. Now you can see in here it's got my lead sound here, so I can just click on this down here. It has all my tracks that were in the session. So I can just load this up. Lead sound, I can click on the name here and it will put it into a new track immediately. And I just hit OK. And now what happens is it put it down here at the bottom, right over here, and if I hit this, it's in my session, and it's the same sound that I had in my old session before. All right, so that's one of the things we can do with it. The other thing we can do with it is we can say, all right, I want to pull in some vocals from another track, so I'm just going to hit Option-Shift-I, or remember it's under File, Import, Session Data. So I go in here and I say, let's get my, let's see here, let's do the audio recording. This one. Let's see here, Elastic Audio, File, Drum Recording, File Backups. That's a weird one to have in here. Put that in the wrong place somehow. Let's do Pro Tools Lab 2. Just try this one and see if this is the one that has my, it's the one, it's got that one in it. Hold on, just seeing which one it is. Yeah, okay, so we can just use this one that has my counting in it here. Oh, Clash Recording, this is the one I want. So I open this one up here, and I double click on the Pro Tools session. And it says session time is earlier than current session time to maintain timeline positions of source session, check, adjust in the next box. So basically what this is saying here is that my session time start here is earlier than my current session time, the one I'm importing from. So things are going to be off. That's actually okay. I don't really mind. I don't care. So I'm just going to hit OK. I'm going to kind of ignore stuff. It really wants me to check this box right here. You can check that box if you want. You don't necessarily have to check that box. But what I've got down here is everything that I want to import. So my vocal here, let's just use this comp here. So I'm just going to click on this. It's going to bring it into a new track. And if I wanted to pull in anything else down here, I've got down here in the bottom like what session data I'm going to import here. I can import some markers and memory locations, tempo map, whatever, stuff like that. I'm not going to import any of that stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and just import the playlist here and hit OK. And now it pulls in my vocal here. So now I've got my vocal down here on the bottom.
My cat wakes up.
Right, and you can see that. And what it did was it offset everything by a lot. Wow, that was really far off. That's super annoying. Hold on, let's undo that. And let's import that session data again and not click that button. Yes, yes, yes. Turn you off. And let's open up this one here. Boom. Hit OK. All right, there we go. Probably much better, yeah. So now,
my cat wakes up every morning. He gets out of bed. He goes and he gets a drink of water.
Okay. Now, obviously, you can hear that it's in the wrong tempo. The tempo doesn't work very well here, and the reason why is because the original where I'm bringing the audio from was in a different tempo. So, what I could do at this point is I can make it so it fits. Choose this one here. So what I did was I just put my session into Elastic Audio. As we talked about before, this is how I would actually adjust things. And all this stuff here, really what I'd want to do probably is, let's just grab all this. I'm going to go ahead and consolidate all this stuff here. And I'm going to use my TCE tool like we talked about before, but I'm in Elastic Audio mode, right? So it's not actually going to make a new audio file for me. And let's just see what I can do with this if I can get this to work right. And I'm going to go ahead and move this down until I see that this one here works like that.
My cat wakes up every morning. He gets out of bed.
There we go.
He goes and he gets a drink of water.
Cool. And so that works there. Yeah, this is totally being recorded. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you saw what I just did there. Let me just do it again. I'm going to zoom in here so we can see. Now what I'm doing is, this is the old tempo here. Let me just play this for you so you can hear what it sounds like.
My cat wakes up every morning. He gets out of bed.
Hear how that's really slow? Well, what I want to do is I want to speed this vocal up so it's matching my tempo. And this is really kind of just utilizing what we talked about last week when we talked about Elastic Audio. What's happening is I want to make this vocal line be quicker so it fits with my current audio. And so what I want is, see this one over here? This one right here, I want this to be right here because this is my beat 2. And if I solo this out,
my cat wakes up every morning.
It's like 1. My cat wakes up every morning, right? That my cat, the word cat, is on the second beat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the word cat here, boom, and move it over to here by adjusting the whole audio file. So let me just zoom out a little bit so we can see what's going on here. Oh, it's annoying. Hold on a second. Just going to go like this. And let's go over here to the end, and I'm going to click it, and I drag it to the left until that fits with that bar right there. And actually, this is actually cut properly. I remember now that I cut it. So I can put it right here, boom. A 30-second delay. Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. All right, so now we're stretching and shrinking the clip, yep. And
my cat wakes up every morning. He gets out of bed. He goes and he gets...
Yeah, it's a little bit, that's not quite right. Hold on, let's stretch it back out. Boom, like right there.
My cat wakes up every morning. He gets out of bed. He goes and he gets a drink of water.
Okay, so why did I switch it to polyphonic? I like the way polyphonic sounds. You could try monophonic. Here, let's try monophonic and see what that sounds like. But polyphonic just sounds the best. If you remember our notes before, remember I said in the notes, when you're in doubt, use polyphonic. And so I don't really know what this best one's going to sound like for this, so I'm just going to use polyphonic. Let's see what monophonic sounds like.
My cat wakes up every morning. My cat wakes up every morning. He gets out of bed. He goes and he gets a drink of water.
Yeah, you hear that? Sounds weird right there. Let's listen to that one more time.
My cat wakes up every morning. He gets out of bed. He goes and he gets a drink of water.
Right, hear how that one, the word gets, he goes and he gets a drink of water, doesn't sound good at all. So let's put it back in polyphonic.
My cat wakes up every morning. He gets out of bed. He goes and he gets a drink of water.
Right, sounds much better. And that's why I use polyphonic, because monophonic doesn't really work that well. My advice to you is check them all out. Try them all and see which one works best for you, because you need to, like, this is like, remember, and I'm going to say this again and again and again, this is going to be like a mantra for me and for you, is that what I'm showing you really is just how to use this stuff. You need to explore it. You need to check it out. You need to go and mess with it and figure out which ones work best for you. I have the ones that I like, but maybe you like different ones. I'm not trying to make you into my clone. What I'm trying to do is just kind of give you the keys to the kingdom so you can then explore the kingdom. That's really what we're doing here. I'm not trying to force you to do things my way. I'm just showing you all the different things we can do. So in this case, I'm using polyphonic mode just because from my experience, polyphonic mode is the best one unless you're dealing specifically with drum sounds and separated audio. Again, this is in the notes from last week. All right, so I have this here.
My cat wakes up every morning.
Sounds pretty good. Now, one thing I want to show you though, because I used import session data, check this out. I didn't just bring in the audio. I could have just brought in the audio, but I used import session data. And look over here on the right-hand side. This is my track I imported, and look, it came in with all of my effects and everything. And that's because I used import session data. So when you use import session data, it's going to bring in all of your plugins, all of your everything that's associated with that track is going to come in with that audio. So it's not just the same as importing the audio, it's going to import everything that's on that track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete this track, and we're going to do that again, and we're going to do it in slow motion. All right, I've got all this stuff here. I'm just going to go ahead and delete all the vocal stuff out. Remove that. Boom, boom, boom. Good. Okay, cool. All right. So let's take a look at our notes. So importing session data, it enables you to import tracks, audio, plugins, etc. from another session. There's some options here. Now, this is important here. Tracks, audio, plugins, everything can come in. And you can also pick and choose what do you want to bring in. So you don't have to bring in your audio, the recording. You don't have to bring in the plugins. You can pick and choose. Okay. These here are all different options that we have in there. So what I'm going to do here is I go in here and I'm going to import my session data. Remember, the shortcut is Option-Shift-I. So I find the session that I want to import from. So that's what I did. I went in here to my projects and I found the one that I want to import from, Clash Recording. Double click that to open it up. And now this Pro Tools session here, the PTX file, that's what I want to double click. I'm going to import from that. I'm not going to go into my audio files and import the audio files. I'm going to import from the Pro Tools session file. So I double click it. It's going to give me this warning. Hey, your start time is sooner. I'm going to ignore this because I wanted to start with my current session. Now, if we look at this, let's go ahead and look at this carefully. Hold on one second. I'm just going to change something in here. This is like, I don't like the way this is something I was trying out, not you. But I don't love it. I'm going to go to my accessibility, zoom, and zoom style, options, pointer, continue. Wait, full screen, picture in picture, smooth images, fall. This is not, hold on, I don't want, only when it reaches an edge. Let's do that one. Yeah, here. Let's try that. Does that work better? Yes, much better. Okay, yeah, I don't want it to keep moving. It's too much movement. It's making me seasick. All right, so in here, let's just check out a few of our options in here. I'm gonna zoom way in. Okay, so first of all, the name is Pro Tools Clash Recording. This is basically showing you the session that we're importing from. So it goes over here, the Pro Tools Clash Recording here. What kind of session file type is it? It's a current session file. Basically anything from Pro Tools, I think it's 10, 11, and 12 is all considered current. Created by, which one was it created by? Mac OS 2020.5, which is, they've actually changed the naming of Pro Tools now, so it's not Pro Tools 12 anymore, like I just said. Sorry, I'm still getting used to it. It's Pro Tools 2020.05, which means it was from May 2020. The start time is just going to be 00. The time code format, 30 frames per second, which you can pretty much ignore. Audio bit depths is 16 and 24. I don't remember what was 16 bits. Maybe it was that Audio Clash Recording. Doesn't really matter because Pro Tools can handle it. And the sample rate is 44.1. The file types are WAV. Over here on the right-hand side is our timecode mapping, which if I wanted to map it so they were in the same timecode but starting at different points, I would click this adjust button here, but I'm not going to click that. You have some options here for what you want to do, but really you just click the button and it will automatically map it for you. Track offset, if I wanted to adjust things over by a certain amount of bars and beats, by like let's say 8 bars and beats, I could just click on this and change that to an 8 right here, and it would map it over by 8 bars. I'm going to leave that at 0 though. All right, down here, let's go down here a little bit, move this over. All right, cool. So on the left-hand side here, we have our audio media options, and these are a little bit confusing, so I do want to talk about these. So what's happening is I'm pulling in audio from another destination, from another source. That source could be a different hard drive. It could be the same hard drive but a different folder. It could be somewhere in the cloud. It could be all sorts of different places. So this is going to give me some options of how do I want to access that data. Well, I can link to the data. I can copy from the source media. I can consolidate, or I can force to target session format. These two here are the main ones you're going to use. Consolidate, I don't really use that very much, and then force to target session format. That's if it's a different sample rate and stuff like that, and I want to convert it. Basically, these two here are the ones we're mainly going to use. And what they do, and this is in the notes, this is where our notes are right here. We have these options here, link to, and over here we have copy from. So link to, what it does is it points to where the audio files are located on another hard drive or folder, etc. So if I've got my current session is here and the audio files are on a different hard drive, it's just going to point to that hard drive and say, hey, the audio files are over there. That's what they are. That's what this does, is it saves space on your current hard drive. But what it doesn't do is it does not bring the audio files into your current session folder. So the good part is it saves space. The bad part is they're not in your current audio files folder. If we use copy from, what it does is it's going to copy the audio files from their source location into our current audio files folder. So we go over here. We're going to say, I want to copy it. So it's going to grab the file from its source and make a copy into our current audio files folder. The good part is this ensures that the audio files are in the session. They're in the current session. But the bad part is that it takes up more space on your hard drive. So this brings us to a question. When should we use link to versus when should we use copy from? Well, link to is great for just checking out many, many files. If you just want to check out a whole bunch of files, you're not sure which one you want to use yet, you're just going to grab a whole ton of them, like from a sample file or something like that, sample folder, then I would use link to, and it's not going to copy them all in because it's just going to clutter up your audio files folder if you copy them all in. Or if I'm sampling from a movie or some kind of a giant file, like let's say I've been out field recording and I've got these audio files that are 2 gigabytes or 4 gigabytes, and I just want to grab little bits and pieces from it. Well, what I would do is I would use link to, so I'm not copying the whole 4 gig file into my current audio files folder, and I just bring out the individual pieces, and later on I would just crop them so it copies them in, or I just make sure I copy them in. At the end of the day, you're always going to do save copy in, where you're going to copy in your audio files from various places. So at the end of the day, you can grab just the parts that you want and just copy those in without grabbing the whole thing. So usually I use link to. But if you want to use copy from, this is great for grabbing a few audio files that you know you're going to use. So if I know I'm going to use this vocal right now, I could use copy from, and I'm just going to pull it in automatically. I don't usually use copy from. I usually use link to, but it's up to you. This is a case where you can do whatever you want. It's not really going to hurt anything if you use one or the other. All right. So go in here and I do this, and then consolidate from. I feel like this used to work a little bit differently. I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to go ahead and skip this part for now because I feel like I've used it more recently and it was acting a little bit strange, not what I expected it to. So I'm gonna skip over that part just because when I was using it the other day, it actually was doing a little bit weird. So I need to do a little bit more research into how that's operating now in the new version of Pro Tools. In here, let's just go down here. The video media options right here. Basically the same as your audio options. This is just for video stuff. And you can see on mine it's grayed out because I don't have any, there's no video in the folder. But link to, copy from, import, offline satellite media data. This stuff is like the same. These first two are the same as what we just talked about. Import offline satellite media data is for if you're using, it's like a special thing for video because video can get huge really fast. And so they have like what they call offline mode or satellite mode where it has the main data somewhere else and it has like a very compressed version of it that doesn't look great, but it's actually good for editing. It's kind of the type of thing where it's like if you need to use it, you'll probably know what that is. So don't stress that. The video options, you're not going to get to that until you get to mod 4. So don't freak out about that. Over here, sample rate conversion options, if we need to convert the sample rate. So the source sample rate will tell us what it is, and then what is our destination sample rate going to be? In this case, it's 44.1. How do you want to convert it? Best is fine, or tweak head is really, I guess fine, whatever. They're all going to be about, fast because computers are super fast these days. Don't use one of these over here. Just use best or tweak head. It used to be a long time ago that I always used best, but now maybe I would use tweak head. I'm not really sure what the big differences is in those. I used to always use best because a lot of experts in the field at the time when I wasn't an expert yet always recommended using best. But that was back 20 years ago, and computers are certainly faster now than they were 20 years ago. So tweak head is probably the way to go nowadays. But in this case here, I'm not going to use this for now. And again, I don't really know that some of these are like leftover from old days, so not sure that's something we need to really worry about. All right, so we're going to choose which tracks we want to pull in, and if I already had a track in here that I wanted to apply it to, I could do that. So I could take this and I could say, I'm going to put this one on here. Now, if you're just bringing in a track because you want to bring in all the audio and everything, I recommend just clicking it and using new track. I do not recommend bringing it into a current track. We would bring it into a current track if we want to just pull in the plugins and stuff. So we're going to come back and talk about that in just a second. I'm going to go down. Sorry, I scrolled really fast. I'm going to scroll down my screen down to the bottom. And here's some other options for things. If I want to bring in my old tempo from my old track, I could bring in the old tempo from the old track. I could bring in my old key signature. I could bring in my old markers. I could bring in my old window configurations and mic presettings and heat master settings. If you, the tempo and key signature, all this stuff is if you want to bring in like my old tempo. At this point, I'm going to actually adjust it to fit my new tempo. I'm not going to use my old tempo. So I'm not going to click on any of this stuff here. And then your main playlist options. What do I want to do with my main playlist? I want to import and replace existing playlists. That's fine. And then track data down here, I can import different track data. Now, if I have a situation where I do not want to cover up that there's already existing audio, and I don't want to import my audio, I can click on Do Not Import. And this is basically just going to bring in just the plugins and stuff and not the audio data. In this case, I do want to bring in my audio data. And then track data to import, I can click on this and it has all this track data. Now I've set up a couple of presets in here. I've got preset number 1, which is everything, and preset number 2, which is only my plugins. And I'm going to show you what that's for here in just a second. So I'm just going to use number 1 for now and hit OK. And now it's going to import all my audio data here. And look at this, it also brought in my plugins here, which is pretty cool right there. Brings in all my plugins for me. Now, let's say, for example, that I already have this vocal file in here and I want to bring in some different plugins to replace these plugins. I don't like these plugins. I have an old session that I use and I like those plugins better. Well, then what I can use import session data again, and we're going to use, let's use the same session, but I'm going to import from a different track. So what I can do is, this is when I get down here, I'm going to use my chorus, and I'm not going to import it to a new track. What I'm going to do is I'm going to import it to my current vocal track here, comp 1. I'm going to go down to the bottom, and I'm going to do not import the playlist. So I do not want to import my audio. I'm going to choose what I want to import. I'm going to choose the data to import, and I'm going to go up here. I'm going to hit number 2 on mine because that's just these settings here. And the way you can set that up, just these right here, plugin assignments and automation. If I want to change what I'm looking at here, let's say I want to have this one here, my main volume automation. For my volume automation, I want to have these 3 selected, and I want to save this as a preset. I can just select whatever I want to have as my preset, and I hold Command, and I click whatever number I want to assign that preset to. See how it triple clicks it? 1, 2, 3. Let me just zoom in on that so you can see that. Click 1, 2, 3. It triple clicks it. I'm not triple clicking it myself. I'm just holding Command and clicking it. And now that's saved that as a preset. So if I go back here and I click number 1, that's that preset. Number 2 is that preset. Number 3 is that preset. So I can have it so it quickly just shows me whatever I want to import. In this case, I just want to import my plugin assignments. I hit OK. I hit OK down here. And now it should have, did it change anything? Oh, it didn't change anything. All right, well, I guess there's no different plugins on here. It would have written over these here. So let me just show you. Let me just get a blank session here. So this audio file here, I'm going to import my session, and I'm going to pull in my plugins to that new track I just made here. Audio 1, boom, do not import. Yep, we're good there. Click OK, click OK, and it just pulled in my plugins here. So that's how we can use that for pulling in your plugins. You can use this. Just make sure you don't import the audio or anything like that. All right. Cool. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a break. Let's take a 10-minute break. Let's be back at, let's take a 12-minute break just to even things out, and let's be back at 11 o'clock. All right, so let's come back at 11 o'clock just to kind of make things nice and even here. And what we're going to do is, on the flip side of the break, we are going to talk about effects chains. All right, and how this works. And the notes are a little bit different from the reality because actually Pro Tools just changed things up a few months ago, and I haven't been able to change the notes to reflect it yet. But I'm going to explain it to you in the video, how to, like, what the differences are.